This is the handout for section 2.8, angle relationships. Proofs. So what we're looking at first is this page where it has a whole bunch of theorems that we're going to be using for this handout. The first one is the angle addition postulate. Angle addition postulate. And what we're looking at is when two angles together give you the whole. So I'm going to make this big angle, PQS. And what it says is that if it has two angles, 1 and 2, when you add those two together, they're going to give you the big angle PQS. The next one is supplement theorem. Supplement. And what supplementary means is that it equals 180. This theorem says if two angles form a linear pair, that's a line of two angles, so two angles that form a line, then they are supplementary angles. That means they equal 180. What they're trying to tell us is that one line will equal 180. Complement theorem. Complement theorem is similar to the supplement theorem, only that this one is equal to 90. It says if the non-common side of two adjacent angles form a right angle. So what is it saying? It's saying that if an angle is formed, a right angle is formed by two angles, and the non-adjacent just means the 90-degree angle, form a right angle, then the two angles inside of it, let's call them 1 and 2, are equal to 90. So they're telling us that those two angles will be equal to 90. The next one that says congruent supplement. Congruent supplement. So what they're trying to tell us with this one is that if they share an angle, that angle is going to be equal. Angles supplement to the same angle or congruent angles are congruent. So let's make a supplement. Supplementary angles look like this because they form a line. And then I'm going to go like this. It's easier if we understand with values, so I'm going to call this 30. And I know they equal 180, so the next one has to be 150. So they tell you you have supplement angles. And I'm going to call this angle 1. If they tell you you have another set of supplement angles, like 1 and 150, then you know that angle 1 is going to be equal to 30. So the measurement of angle 1 will equal 30. They say that they're congruent is because you don't have to know the measure, and they'll still tell you that these two angles will be the same because they share this angle. Congruent complement theorem says that very similar to the supplement, only that you're now talking about 90-degree angles. So I'm going to draw it like this. So they tell you that they are 90 degrees. And let's make this 1 and 2. And then they tell you that another angle that shares that 2, let's call it 3, are also 90. So I'm going to put the 90-degree symbol here. This theorem says that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. So it's very similar to this. Because they share this angle 2, then these two will be equal. Vertical angles theorem, vertical angles. Vertical angles theorem is a vocabulary word that we used last time. What vertical angles means is that you have two lines that intersect and the angles opposite to one another. So for example, these two. These are called vertical angles. The top and the bottom angles are still considered vertical angles. I just didn't want to make that notation because then it's confusing which ones I'm referring to. So that's the definition of vertical angles. Now this theorem says is that if you know that they're vertical, then you know that they're congruent. They're equal to one another. The perpendicular lines, the next theorem right here, perpendicular lines intersect to form four right angles. So when you have two lines that are perpendicular, because you're told, then that means that you have four right angles. This one, this one, this one, and this one right here. The next theorem says that all right angles are congruent, which just means that all equal 90. The next one says perpendicular lines form congruent adjacent angles. So we're going to draw perpendicular lines. And congruent means they have the same measure. And we don't really have to be told what that measure is. And adjacent means next to. So these two next to angles are equal to each other. I'm going to rotate this paper just so you understand that it could also be these two. Or the bottom two. Or the other side. But I just like to make this one notation so you know that they're next to each other. If two angles are congruent, is the next theorem, and supplementary. So remember, supplementary means that they equal 180. That is the definition of supplementary, is that two angles are equal to 180. Then each angle is a right angle. Supplementary does not mean that they have to be stuck together. So what we're looking at is two angles. And if they're equal, then we know that they're 90 degrees. Well, it makes sense, right? 90 plus 90 means that they're equal. And 90 plus 90 gives you 180. A linear pair. So this one says if two angles form a linear pair, two angles, a linear pair, are congruent, then they are right angles. So this picture is stuck together. Because remember, a linear pair is two angles that give you 180 degrees. But they're telling us that they're equal to each other. That means that they have to be 90 degrees. All right, number one. Number one says that the angle ABC, and angle CBD are a right angle. Form a right angle. So together they form a right angle. And then they tell me that ABC, the angle ABC, is equal to 5x. And the angle CBD is equal to 4x. What we're trying to prove is that the value of x is equal to 10. So we usually start with the given, and that's what we will do here, given. And we're given the information that angle ABC and angle CBD form a right angle. We are given this other bit of information that it's equal to 5x and 4x, but we're not going to write it right now because we're not going to use it right now. Telling me that these two angles form a right angle tells me that these two angles, angle ABC and angle CBD, are complementary. And that's by the complement theorem. So I'm going to switch to the front. Go to the complement theorem. It says if there are two adjacent angles form a right angle, then they're complementary. So that's how we know that they're complementary. Now we can write that the measurement of angle ABC plus the measurement of angle CBD is equal to 90. And this is by the definition of complementary angles. What that means is that the definition says that they're equal to 90 just by calling them complementary. Now from here, it says that the measurement of angle ABC, we're going to use this factor up here, the measurement of angle ABC is equal to 5x. So now I can write this given. Sometimes we can write the given over here, but to save space, we're going to write it over here. And this is the measurement of angle ABC is equal to 5x. And the measurement of angle CBD is equal to 4x. So that means that instead of writing this, I can write 5x. And instead of writing this, I can write 4x. And it's still equal to 90. And we're going to add those two together. And the reason that I can do that is by substitution. They're equal to each other. We can replace them. Right here, what we're going to do is combine like terms. But remember last time I told you that that's an action, not a property. So we can write 9x is equal to 90. So the reason that we can do that is by substitution. These two things are equivalent. They mean the same thing, so that's how I can replace it. Now I'm going to divide by 9 to both sides. X is equal to 10, and that's what I wanted to prove. I'm dividing by 9 to both sides. So this is by the division property of equality. You're dividing both sides to keep it equal. Number 2. For number 2, it says angle ABC and the angle CBD form a linear pair. And that's all I'm going to write for right now because that's what I need to use. So angle ABC and angle CBD form a linear pair. Why can I write that? It was given. So ABC and CBD form a line, two angles that form a line, a pair that forms a line, linear pair. That means that angle ABC and angle CBD are supplementary. And this is by the Supplement Theorem. So let's take a look at the Supplement Theorem. Supplement Theorem says if you have a linear pair, then it's supplementary. Those two angles are supplementary. Now that we know that they're supplementary, we can say that the measurement of angle ABC plus the measurement of angle CBD is equal to 180. So it's equal to 180. That means it's the definition of supplementary. That means that that's what it means. When you have two angles that equal 180,